Sam Bahadur review. Playing out on a vast and varied canvas, Sam Bahadur crams a lifetime into his 2.5 hours. The film covers 4 decades of active military service, 5 wars, anti-insurgency operations, and brushes with prime ministers. Inevitably, Magna Gulzar's ambitious biographical film feels a tad rushed, but for sure it has nary a dull moment. The film fires on the fronts that matter. Driven by a high-spirited performance from Vicky Kaushal, it delivers a rounded, rousing portrait of Field Marshal Sam Hormsey Farmji Jamshedji Manaksha, a gentleman and an officer whose grit and gallantry, joy power of repartee, and unwavering sense of purpose are the stuff of legend. An intense character study more than an action-heavy war movie, Sam Bahadur hits most of his targets. It blends the story of an illustrious life. It isn't exactly a from the cradle to grave affair, although it does begin with the protagonist as a newborn in a crib and the exploits of a legendary army man who brought remarkable dexterity to bear upon his job as a soldier and a leader. The screenplay by Bhavani Iyer, Shantanu Srivastava, and Meghna Guljar adroitly picks incidents and encounters that aid in imparting a vivid, vibrant quality to the picture. As much about an individual as about a nation, Sam Bahadur has the sprawl of an epic and the delicate touches of an intimate chronicle. As the film flies from one point in time to another from the early 1940s when the Japanese soldiers march into Burma to the early 90s when the Indian Army enters Bangladesh's War of Liberation, it has a share of ellipses. But no matter how glaring the gaps are, they do not restrict the sweep of the consistently arresting saga. The screenwriters graft just enough narrative meat onto the condensed storyline to be able to do justice to the charismatic general whose career is explores in the context of the nation's eventful history before and after independence. I fight to win, Manekshaw frequently asserts, often in so many words that might make him sound like an inseparable Hindi action film hero, but the director makes it a point not to turn the protagonist into a larger-than-life figure, which he portrays probably was to the man he led. Keeping hysteria out of the history, she presents the great soldier not as a single-hued, punchline-spouting general, but as a believable human, man of conviction, intelligent, confident, and cocky, and a master strategist who rebelled in speaking his mind. Sam Bahadur we see on the screen isn't a Bollywoodized version of a hero from the pages of Indian military history, but a man rooted in the real world but endowed with exceptional acumen and courage of conviction. What's in a name? In the case of Sam Manaksha, as a film about him tells us there is a whole lot. And the opening sequence we learn that Sam's parents had christened him Cyrus but were constrained to rename him because a thief named Cyrus had just been nabbed in the neighborhood. In the next scene, it is repeated later in a film at 8 Gorkha Rifles Jawan when Manaksha asks him if he knows the name of the Indian Army chief lives Sam Bahadur, the apt moniker sticks. Played with panache by Vicky Kaushal, who walks the tightrope between the caricature and authenticity and never keels over onto the side of the former. Sam Manaksha emerges as man and an icon who was both enormously charming and dauntingly firm. Falling back on a jaunty gait, dialogue delivery faintly reminiscent of Hum Dono's Dev Anand and demeanor that exudes both hauteur and amiability. Kaushal levens up the portrait with distinct mannerisms that are far removed from his own. One of the most striking aspects of Sam Bahadur is that it eschews flag-waving militarism while celebrating the bravery of India's soldiers. It treads gently and thoughtfully through the life-threatening minefields that infantrymen have to negotiate in the line of duty. There are battle scenes and punchlines aplenty in the film, but they do not overshadow the less flashy components with which the lively biopic is constructed. Sam Bahadur isn't only about a man delivering rousing speeches to lift the spirits of his men or stamp his personality on the army under him. It's also about the human and personal aspects of a general's life, which are underscored in the moments that he has with his wife Silu, played by Sanya Malhotra, and family. Since the film harks back to a time when love for the nation was not colored by any manner of religious exceptionalism, it showcases an ethos that hinged on a celebration of unity in diversity, the cornerstone of the idea of India. The war cries of the various regiments and the film's climatic passages point to the variegated backgrounds of Indian soldiers marching towards a common goal. In a significantly resonant scene, a court of inquiry charges Manekshaw with being anti-national because the Defence Academy presides over has portraits of British soldiers rather than those of Indian political leaders. The general's response to the flimsy allegation is illuminating. The Academy trains soldiers and not politicians, he asserts. Sam Bahadur slips up a bit in his sketchy portrayal of Jawaharlal Nehru, played by Neeraj Kabi. Indira Gandhi, played by Fatima Sana Sheikh, receives far better treatment. Not only does India's third Prime Minister get greater Not only that does India's third Prime Minister get greater play in the narrative, she also has a scene or two in which she nearly steals Sam's thunder. In one sequence, Mrs. Gandhi puts Richard Nixon's Secretary of State Henry Kissinger in his place, using Chief of Army Staff Manekshaw as a trump card, when he threatens India with dire consequences if she attacks Pakistan on the Eastern Front. Newsreel footage of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman exhorting his people to rise in revolt, sequences of Dhaka University students being gunned down by the Pakistan Army, and flashes of General Yahya Khan, portrayed by Mohammad Jishan Ayub, Manekshaw's friend in their pre-partition Defence Academy days, planning to precipitate a confrontation with India, are woven into the lead-up to the Bangladesh war. So Sam Bahadur isn't just talk. There's enough here to keep the film on the boil all through. It would be easy to describe Sam Bahadur as a Vicky Kaushal show because it is who dominates every major scene in the film. But without the fine balance that Magna Gulzar strikes between ambition and restraint, neither the spirited central performance nor its emotional and cinematic payoff would have been quite as remarkable.